right, welcome to TRiRODS in August 2025. This is our second talk of the afternoon. This is Ramsey Jooss talking about the updates to both the iRODS zone management tool, which is a utility that we already had and was not working as expected, and then work on GenQuery2, which is our new parser for the most recent versions of iRODS. Take it away, Ramsey.
My name is Ramsey Jooss. I'm a rising junior at William & Mary, double majoring in sociology and computer science. So at the start of the summer, the first thing we did was familiarize ourselves with iRODS, and that's really been an ongoing process throughout the summer. I started working on the ZMT. Initially, it had a missing Nginx configuration, and it was missing some dependencies, and some dependencies were depreciated for the libraries it depended on. There's no tests. The structure of fetching data from the iRODS server and when that is done and such is a little inconsistent throughout the code base. There were broken checks and there were pages that were failing to load. Our primary goal was to fix the deploy and update the packages to make the tool more stable. And that's what I started with reverting the Docker configuration back to the just using npm to run the project. And then I downloaded the necessary packages, fixed the infinite loops, the render errors. The updates broke a lot of styling, so that took some time. And then there were various issues with the checks that I fixed. To make the tool more stable, I removed Material UI, which was the dependency that definitely changed the most and broke the most. So that took a lot of just rewriting components in basic React. Initially, I was going to remove Axios and possibly one of the other libraries. But because of the inconsistent use of the server provider, it would have taken a lot longer. And we ultimately decided that for GUIs moving forwards, we want to move away from React. So some of that work makes less sense than just getting it to a maintainable place. I also rewrote the login system to be more centralized and consistent. All of the Material UI icons were able to be replaced with UTF-8 icons. So no icon library, or it's not relying on any service that could suddenly disappear. Yeah, and then there were just a lot of warning fixes and good reminders of how easy JavaScript makes it to write messy code. That was all pushed in version 0.4.1 of the ZMT. Normally I use Forger, not GitHub, and I'm not used to working on collaborative projects as much, so it was good practice with lots of help from Terrell and Corey. And then we fixed some more bugs. There was incorrect validation and some checks. And there are still a lot of bugs. There's incorrect uses of the HTTP API that remain from when it was transitioned from the REST API. And it still could be cleaned up. But yeah, we'll see moving forward. Yeah, and so after that, I spent some time looking into alternatives to use for GUIs. this was a lot of fun and getting to mess around and write little tests for stuff. Terrell suggested we use Flask because a lot of the team knows Python. Flask is awesome. I really like the templating engine it uses, but it is limited in that it can't be populated from JavaScript, which just adds bulk given the fact that the server is already run separate. So managing a session needlessly is wasted effort, and um, sending the session information back and forth between the client also adds a lot of unnecessary bulk. And fetching the information from JavaScript is pretty simple. So then I spent time looking at options for templating with templating that doesn't require a lot of HTML and strings in the JavaScript source. There are some good options. There's JS Views and Alpine JS, both of which serve similar functions, although JS Views is a much more comprehensive library. But ultimately, these tools add another layer of what needs to be sort of learned by the team to be able to maintain the project. So for the pretty basic GUIs we're making, just basic jQuery and native web works well. And then just in the last week, loosely related to GUIs through the fact that it is a useful functionality for creating histograms. I added functionality to the iRODS server's group by, which is the iQuery command. I spent a lot of time setting up the development environment on an Ubuntu server and just staring at the relevant code and reading over it until it made sense to me. Corey pointed me to the order by class clause, which is pretty similar to what the group by clause needed to be. So I based the type and the clause generation function as well as the parser off of it. And then I was able to reuse some of the SQL generation code just to keep everything nice and clean. Not much logic was added besides that. Yeah, and then I added tests in Python. The query strings in the Python show example queries. That, I mean, using the length of data name isn't, I don't know the use case for that, but it shows the functionality. And then I just wanted to give a special thank you to Corey, Terrell, and everybody else who helped me with my presentation or anything else, and everybody who I spent time with at the user group meeting and everything else.
Thank you. That's great. It really was a lot of work as well. You kept running out of projects. We had to come up with new things. Can you tell us a little bit about what you kind of learned? I know that you went through those different, kind of descended into different caves and, did some spelunking and poking around. I feel like you knew a lot before. What would you say that you actually learned from all of this?
I think the biggest thing was spending time with a lot of different tools or tools that I've looked at before but not used extensively, like SQL. I've become far more familiar with Docker, GitHub as a website, and all the GUI tools that I looked at were things I've seen loosely, but not like looked at how they work and their critics and people who like it and what everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you span 3 or 4 different languages. Not what we usually see with our interns. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have one. So what, where do you feel you struggled the most, and how did you develop any, I guess, approaches to addressing those struggles in future projects? How might you improve upon those?
I definitely tried to rush things with the ZMT at the start, and that wasted some time. Um, and that was good reminders of good programming practices. And that's sort of been the whole summer, has just been practicing that as well. Um, a lot of that is stuff where it's like during school I don't have time to practice as much, and then I go into it without thinking about it, and then make a mess of things.
All right. Thank you.
Anybody else have a question? Yeah, we definitely had you working on something that, if anybody saw in the screenshot, that was a report slash request from August of 2016. So 9 years later, we did it. And by
Meant
we, I
for
mean,
the old version of GenQuery.
that's true. That's true. It did require some other steps along the way. But that's good. Very
I
good.
did have one last question.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself, like, so you worked on a web application, which is, mostly out external to the server, and then you also work on server-side code. Which do you see yourself favoring most in your software development career?
I definitely enjoy both for different reasons, but I definitely enjoy like more software development to the um, GUI development. It's more like there's some fun in it, but it's a necessary step for making a tool more usable, more user friendly.
All right. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you again.